Aloha and welcome to this screencast on what appears to be a somewhat innocuous topic, cloud-based hosting. But really, this is a huge module because up till now, you might have been asking yourself, where is the software engineering in this class? After all, we've been talking about basic Java programming, basic HTML and CSS, a little bit about Twitter Bootstrap, and even a little bit about Play. But so far in the semester, and we're about a month in, it kind of looks like this is a class about web application development, not a class about software engineering. But that is about to change. So what we're going to be really discussing this week is how do you share code with fellow developers? How do you make code publicly available to the world? How do you coordinate software development asynchronously, which means people working at different times? And how do you coordinate development synchronously, which means developers working at the same time, okay, on the system? And so this particular module is going to suddenly start to strike at the core of what it means to do software engineering. And I'm super psyched about that. Basically, up till now in the semester, I've been trying to present to you material and bring you up to speed about cool modern technology so that when we got into the software engineering part of the semester, you could work on software engineering issues like these in the context of building cool apps. Okay, so that's how it works. And the remainder of the semester from now on is going to be a lot about apps still, but really every week you're going to have experience to work with fellow developers, and we're going to kind of be ramping up the software development part of things, because if you can work together effectively as a team, you can work faster. Your project, if you have two people who are working together effectively, your productivity is more than double because you have the benefit of two minds, two intelligent people and working together and synergizing with each other and helping each other be more effective than just one person times two. Okay. On the other hand, if you're not effective in software engineering with these techniques, then adding more people to the project, having two people, you might work slower than you would have if you were not having somebody else working with you. Okay. So the key thing, I think, with software engineering, if you do it right, the project goes faster than it could have with people working independently. If you do it wrong, the project goes slower with the addition of new people. Okay? So this semester, you're going to get the chance to start to see, hopefully, what it's like when things go good. And maybe, hope at times it will go bad, and you'll get a sense for what that means. Okay? But don't give up and think to yourself, I should just work alone as a software developer. Okay, because that just means you just haven't found that person or that approach to working together that makes the total more than the sum of the parts. Okay, so let me flip through some of the technologies we're going to be using. We're going to be using GitHub. That's the 800-pound gorilla of cloud-based hosting options now, and it's really nice in a lot of ways. I don't like the issue management system for GitHub that much. I actually like the Google Project Hosting issue management system a lot better, but in almost all other respects, GitHub is as good or better than anything else that's out there, and it's the sexy one now. So why not use the sexy one when all other things being equal? Okay, so that's what the GitHub main page. You'll be setting up your own GitHub profile. In terms of your professional persona, having a GitHub profile page, a lot of recruiters want to see that. Okay, so you're going to build up something like this semester. Then you'll be downloading and installing a local app called the GitHub App for Mac or Windows or Linux, which is going to greatly simplify the use of the Git version control system to manage your code and manage collaborative development. So there's one shot of the GitHub app. This is the more typical thing you're going to be seeing after you've made some modifications to your code locally. You're going to go to this page. It's going to show you, like in this example, I'm working on the system play bootstrap template. I've made changes to the readme.md file, and I add a little comment fixes to readme, and if I press that button, commit and sync, it would both upload this code to the GitHub repository so that everybody else could see it, and it would make sure that I have all of the latest commits to that repository so that my local workspace is synchronized with the global repository. Okay, at GitHub, there's kind of like two kinds of home pages. So this is the home page you're probably most used to seeing. I call it the developer homepage because it's kind of complicated to look at. You can browse the repository, see things about the development history and graphs and all that kind of stuff. So it's a good developer level interface to the repository. One of the nice things that GitHub has is this other thing called GitHub Pages, which enables you to pretty quickly and easily build up a more user level interface to your project. Okay, so you can see this is a lot nicer. There's a lot less going on. It's got some links to things. There's, you can download the tar.gz or .zip file, which is kind of a common way you might want to distribute things. And it's extremely easy to build these things. We'll be talking about that this week. And then in addition to GitHub, I also want you to get some experience using Google Hangout, because I think this is probably the easiest way for you guys to do synchronous but distributed development. One of the problems that I've had in previous semesters with this class is wanting people to work together in the same place at the same time, because you make a lot more progress that way outside of class. You guys all know when I have the group work on Mondays that it's pretty fun and efficient to code at the same time. You can ask people questions right when you have them, get answers, and so forth. So the problem is on the weekends or at nights, how do you get that the same benefits of working together? Okay, well, one way is to find a place to work together, and in previous semesters, people made all sorts of elaborate plans to, go to a Starbucks and IAEA, or, come into school. But basically, it was a big pain, and that got in the way of people being able to collaborate. So this semester, I want to see you all get comfortable using Google Hangout, which is a way that you can basically make arrangements with someone to say, okay, from 8 to 8:30 tonight, we're going to have a meeting, but you don't have to be at the same place. Okay, so here's an example of a Google Hangout I'm having with somebody, and we're using screen sharing, so I'm actually seeing their Eclipse window at this particular moment, and they could be typing things into that window, and I could see exactly what they're doing. Also, there's a chat, there's a chat area of the window that you can type things to people, or send URLs and so forth that they can click on. You can do video, although I think in general video is probably, apart from at the very beginning where you're saying hello to each other, I tend to turn off the video to save bandwidth. Okay, and then, but you still have an audio channel. You can still talk. You can still do the screen sharing and so forth. Okay, so I want to have you guys get comfortable using Google Hangout this semester. Not to say that all of your development will be at the same place in the same time, but once you get used to the ability to have a Google Hangout, I think you're going to find that it's a really nice way to facilitate development. Okay, so in summary, this week you're going to start learning about the Git version control system and how the GitHub project hosting site kind of wraps a lot of nice stuff around Git to really create a modern and highly productive group-based software development environment. We're going to talk about different kinds of version control and configuration management models in the screencast you'll watch after this one. But for this week, we're going to start by learning a very simple kind of development workflow that I call centralized development, even though we're using a distributed version control system, where basically when you want to work on a project, you'll enable other people to have commit access or push access to that particular repo. And so effectively what that means is that at GitHub there will be one place where the project lives, and then all the developers will simply be able to push their commits to that repository. There are other kind of models. The more classical distributed model in which you make forks of a given repo and then you issue pull requests. Those are a little more complicated. and we'll talk about them later in the semester. And it really comes down to how much do you trust the people that you're working with. If you're in a close-knit team, then generally centralized development is a little bit faster, actually, because if everybody just has commit access to a repository, then small changes, people can just immediately make, and the repository is up to date and it's no problem. In a much larger, or environment where you have people who you don't necessarily trust, but you'd like to have them offer changes, then this fork and pull request model is a really good one. And you can kind of blend them too. You can have a group of core developers who have direct access to the repo, and then other people can go, fork it and propose things that they'd like to add. All this may not make so much sense right now as you're hearing it, but I want you to hear the words, so that later as you get into the material, you'll start to go, oh yeah, he was talking about that. And then finally, Google Hangouts, our way for doing synchronous yet distributed development. I'm excited to introduce that, and I'm hoping that that's going to enable you guys to work more closely together, more effectively together, without the burden of trying to find a place where you can meet. Okay, so let's hope that works good. All right, have fun. This is a great module. A lot of ways, could be really one of the most important modules of the entire semester.